Well, and good evening, everybody. It's Warren Davis here. We are on your live Q&A Investment Dominator call on this beautiful Monday. It is the 29th of July, and there is Brian checking in from Arkansas. All right, I can read you just fine, Brian. Thank you so much for you do my sound check right off the bat. I appreciate that. So we can just get moving. We'll be coming back to this. I see that everybody can see my LPG deal flow screen, hopefully. And sounds like you can hear me. Excellent. That's wonderful. Perfect audio. Boy, that's good. This has been a good Monday. It's been a busy Monday, very informative Monday. So I'm very happy. I always like getting good information. And hopefully, we have some good information for you all on this call. We'll be able to answer your questions as they do relate to the investment dominator. And we're going to just pick up where we left off on Thursday. Those of you that were here, if and again, if you're new on the call, we want to make sure we address those wonderful people that are just joining us, maybe for the first or second time. If you want to know how to send me in your questions, it's right here on my screen. You just type in your command box your question, and again, it would be so helpful if you'd put either a question mark or the word question and then go ahead and ask your question. So then I can distinguish between the questions and the comments. It helps me out greatly. So don't worry about raising the hand. I normally don't have a chance to see the hand because questions are coming in so fast. I don't get to see the hand, but I will at least see the question. So just want to say welcome to everyone. And we're going to go on and continue where we left off, getting your questions answered. And one of the first I guess to preface our entire conversation, just want you to know that our Investment Dominator Q&A calls are based on the LPG deal flow that Jack teaches. And I'm sure all of you that have been around for a little while, you know that that's what this whole Investment Dominator CRM is based on. And it's software that runs this particular deal flow. You know, our first step, of course, selecting a target market. And been getting some interesting questions even about how to select a target market from some of our new students, and that's perfectly understandable. At this stage, we want you to get those questions answered, so don't hesitate to send them in. And then next, you get a contact list of landowners, and you have to filter that list. This has been a step that sometimes hangs students up, but the wonderful thing is that there are VAs or virtual assistants out there that you can employ. Not very expensive, in terms of what it would cost your time to actually filter your land list, but they will help you to get that contact list. Once you determine your target market and you get a list from the county, then you'll want to have that list filtered and put in the format that Investment Dominator can handle. So they will help you do that. And as I say, it's not very expensive compared to how much time it would take you to do that. My wife and I did start out handling that on our own, and it is quite a task, but we wanted to know how to do it. So we went on and spent the time getting our list together from that we got from our county. So then you want to mail letters and talk to sellers. And so usually students have a lot of questions around, especially talking to sellers and what to expect. And then you want to do your preliminary research. Once you get someone back that says, I do want an offer on my property, you want to do all the preliminary research and get those offers ready. And then you want to mail out your offers and your option agreements to your prospective sellers and get them to say, yes, I accept your offer. And that's a good feeling, even to this day. Well, not that we've been in the business that long, we've been in business a couple of years, but even to this day, whenever we get that, I accept your offer, we get excited because that's an opportunity to market that property. We know we've already given them an offer that's pennies on the dollar, and we feel like we're ready to make some money here. So still get excited about that. And then once you find a buyer, you've marketed that property, and that you get that I accept your offer, I should say. You want to open escrow, you want to do a more detailed research. You may call the county and determine exactly what the property, has any restrictions or more detail about the property so that you can then put your ads together, and you go to this great step to market that property and set up, owner financing, which for us, that has been a godsend to have that owner financing capability. We've been able to put, land in the hand of a lot of people that wouldn't otherwise be able to afford it. So the owner financing has been wonderful. Then sell the property and you close on that property once you find that buyer that says, hey, that's where I want to be. And I tell you, this process here is exciting every time it happens. I don't think it's ever going to, I don't think it's ever going to get old with us. So if you remember, on Thursday, we were answering a question, how to exactly do we set up, custom statuses in our Investment Dominator. We want to set up a custom status or set up another status other than the ones that are built in. So we were handling that question, and we ran out of time. So we're gonna continue on with that. And like I say, if you have any questions, even around this area or any other area, feel free to jump in. We're gonna handle a business question today that's not so much to do with Investment Dominator, but it is a business question and an important question to answer. So we're going to be dealing with that as well later on in this hour. So here we go. We were on actually setting up your custom statuses. Now, I'd already searched the user guide, and we were looking at land record options. So I were to search for that. Should bring me up an article. Okay. And basically, what I pointed out here, I wanted you to see here the built-in options that Investment Dominator already has in the system. So the built-in land statuses are configured with the different options. So if you're in a prospect status, basically all you can do is generate documents. And if you're in a mail letter 1 status, that's after your prospects and you've mailed them out your letter. So you want to say, okay, they're able to you've mailed out one letter and you're waiting for them to call you back and say, hey, I need an offer on my property. So you can only, at that stage, you can generate documents or you can send out a new offer request. And then the next step, once they say, hey, I want an offer on my property, you go into pending preliminary research status. And in this status, you can set the property location, you can view that property on your map, and you're beginning to then do a little more research on the property. You want to determine, that market value. So you do your market research using Realtor, Trulia, LandWatch, Zillow, or Redfin. And then finally, you're able to calculate your offer amount at this point that you want to send out, and you can also generate documents. So as you can see, each time a record goes through these different statuses, there's more and more capability on those records. And then you get into where you've actually sent them an offer on that property. So then you're going to, of course, you can still do your market research. You can calculate your offer option amount if you wanted to recalculate it, or you can still view it on map. Then finally, when you open escrow and you want to do more of a detailed research where someone says, I accept your offer. So you're going to do more research using your market research tools, view on the map, generate listings, generate an ad, and look at your payment calculator for those that may be doing seller financing. And then another wonderful stage is complete, ready to sell. And at this stage, you can see that your records, you are now ready to market those records. You can generate documents, do market research, view on map, do your payment calculator. These two stages obviously look pretty much the same as to what you can do in terms of functionality. But sometimes individuals want to, and of course, if you find a buyer, this is one of the final stages that you go into, and then you sell that property. Sometimes some of our students want to incorporate another status. And one of the more common ones that we get is in adding a custom status is some students want to set up a blind offer status. And so that's what I'm going to demo. I've demoed this once or twice before, but we're still getting questions around this area. So in order to set up a new offer request, you just simply go to customize. And again, these are recorded, so you can always come back, listen to recording at like 10 minutes in, and you'll see this, you'll see my screen. And we want to go to custom status, stages, and statuses. And so as you can see here, I want to add an actual status. Now I'm not going to add a stage. These stages are built in as well. I recommend that you just leave them unless you're really experienced in the land business. But leave your stages alone, and you just want to set a status for your built-in stages that are already there. And as you can see, we have some here built in for prospects. Those are the stages. And these are the options that, some are already built in and some have been customized. So we're going to add a brand new status. And let's just say I'm going to add it to the prospect stage and I'm going to make it for land since I'm not into the house business. And I'm going to call it simply a blind offer. So if I wanted to make a blind offer on a property, maybe I'm aware of that, piece of property, or I'm aware of other pieces of property in that area, and they're, 1 or 2 acre parcels, and I already know just about what they're worth. I want to come now and I just want to send a blind offer to some individual to see if they're interested in selling that property. Now, the status options I have here, this is what I'm going to allow this blind offer status to be able to do. And really all I want a blind offer status to be able to do is generate documents. I don't want to get into any of these other, I don't want to do a new offer request or set property location. I don't want to allow any of that functionality. The only thing I want to be able to do is generate documents. So I'm simply going to say add here. And the thing you know about Investment Dominator is once you add a new status, it's going to go all the way to the bottom. And here we're on page 1, so we have to go all the way to page 3. All right, and here's our blind offer status that we just added. All right, and just to be safe, I'm going to always update the site, so I make sure I update any changes that I made in terms of status. So if I go back and I look page 3, I'll see my blind offer there. All right, so that's our first status. Now, just so you know, the only status is really that you'll be able to, within even Investment Dominator, if we went over here and we edited this particular status, you'll notice that I can save, I can cancel, or I can delete. And basically those statuses that I have created myself, which this one is blind offer, I'm able to delete. If you haven't created the status yourself, because this is a question we get, sometimes, is why can't I delete a status, one of the built-in statuses? And the answer is because you didn't create that status. You can always delete a status that you have created, but a built-in status, the system won't let you delete that. I'm just writing that question down. Okay, so here we go. And we're not going to delete this right now because we're going to add another status. So I want to then create a new status. I'm going to also create it under prospects. And again, it's under land. And it's just this easy. And I'm going to call this one blind offer sent. So I'm going to have 2 new statuses. One is blind offer and one is blind offer sent. And this status will say that I basically have sent this blind offer, but on this particular status, I want to be able to do a little bit more. So I want to be able to perhaps, I may want to do a new offer request on a blind offer sent status. I definitely want to be able to set the property location, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And I want to also, if a customer calls in, I may want to view this property on a map real quickly. So I may want to bring it up. And then I do want to definitely do market research on this particular property. And I also may want to, let's say I want to calculate an offer option amount. So again, and at this point now, I don't want to worry about generated listing. Don't really need to generate documents, but you could go on and check that one too if you wanted to. But this just gives you an idea. You can create your own statuses and have them function within the system however you want. And so I'm going to add that status. And again, the status is going to be added at the very last page. So here we have our two new statuses set with prospects under the prospect stage. Status 1, the blind offer, all we can do is generate documents. This blind offer sent status, look at what we can do here. These are the options, the ones that we selected. So again, you update site. All right, so now the next logical step is we want to sort these statuses a certain way so that they appear, logically in order. And so I'm going to just go into the sort status function. And you'll notice that Investment Dominator puts them way down here at the bottom. But remember, we said that they were under the prospect stage. So it only makes sense that when they appear in Investment Dominator, that they would appear under prospect. So now all I'm doing is I'm doing a left click with my mouse, holding it down, and I'm moving this particular status up under prospect. So when it appears in Investment Dominator, the first thing I'll see under prospect will be blind offer. I'm going to do the same thing, left click, hold it down, hold the left click down as you're using your mouse to drag this new status up under blind offer sent. Okay, so now this puts this in the order that it's going to appear, and always don't forget to save. That's been a question we've had. I created a new status and it didn't appear in the order that I had specified, and it's usually because the person did not save that record. So now if I want to see the new statuses I created, I can just go to my land deals and I'll just pick any prospect here. I can notice I generate documents, but if I go in and actually edit the record under prospect, I should see, there we go, you see our new offer statuses that we created, blind offer sent. Then it goes into mail letter 1. So this puts it in order that I'm interested in having it appear, and I can really assign that status to any of those records that I want. I can also, I believe I should be able to, let's see, if I create this, nope, it's not letting, I thought it would appear under these statuses, but that's okay. If you wanted to change a particular record one at a time, this would just be another way to do it. You could select that record, and of course we went into change status, and there we are, we have our two statuses that we created. And it's just that simple to create statuses within Investment Dominator. Now, if you're brand new and you say, well, I don't really have a need to create any statuses, that's perfectly understandable at this point. But I've come in contact with quite a few people that have been in the business a while, and they've found a reason to create their own statuses in Investment Dominator. So that if we have any questions around that, be happy to answer them at this point. If not, we're going to just move on into another area where we've been having a few students with questions regarding, let's see here, how do I get the zip code of a property that basically has no address? Zip code of a property with no address. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can achieve this. And one way that we teach it in Investment Dominator, and you can select your own. We have an actual article. If you were to search for set property, I think it's set property location, and it will bring you up a user article so that you could step by step walk through this. But you can also, again, you can hear this broadcast. So here we are. We're going to choose a record. This gets a lot of students, by the way. It's because it's a little confusing. Hopefully we'll clear up some of that confusion here. The record should be in pending preliminary research when you're getting zip codes, because you're at the point where you might be wanting to do some research regarding this property. So let's choose, let's see, Benjamin Jenkins here from Harnett. All right. And you notice one of the first things it pops up is set property location. And that's actually what we want to do, because sometimes when you are dealing with a county record, the only thing that you might have is a picture of that property and a couple of side streets. So I did set up a record here where we could see the picture. So we see our property is right here. It's 543. All right, it's right here. And this 543 actually represents an address. So a lot of our vacant land, as you may already know, do not have addresses. So you would not have that. All you might have is Mount Olive Church Road, and you might have Lorraine Lane, or you might have Strawberry Lane. That's all the county may have given you. And what I like to do too, if I'm looking for properties on a map and all I have is a side street, I'll look for major highways. So this one has North NC 27 West. So that's North Carolina 27 West. That's the name of the freeway or the highway. So you'll want to use that sometimes as a benchmark to determine where your property is in conjunction. If all you have is a street name and a picture. So I know it's here. So I know it's shaped like this on the map, and it's on Mount Olive Church Road. So go back to Investment Dominator. Okay, how would I find this? Because I don't know the zip code of that area. How would I find that? And so one of the things that we are teaching here is you can go over and you can hover over and it says set property location. And you hit that, it brings up this map. So now, I already know it's somewhere in North Carolina, but I don't know where. So I am selecting this. Now, in order to get this to zoom in, like where I can see the streets and everything, you have to hold down the control key and you push the wheel on your mouse, push it forward, and it starts to unfold, and zoom in on a particular property. So just so that we know, and please know that I'm not trying to insult anyone's intelligence here, because I know there are some folks are very savvy with computers, and there are others that are learning more about the computer. So I just want to make sure I'm bringing up a picture here so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm holding down this control key, which is right down here, control key right down here at the very bottom of most keyboards. Now, if you have a Mac, it may be in a different location, but you want to find your control key. I'm holding that down, and here's the little wheel on my mouse that I'm using. So it's just these two keys, control key and the mouse wheel. All right. So that's what I'm holding down, control key, and I'm over here in this area. And I can, if I just left click, I can drag, the map any which way I want. But what I want to do is I want to zoom in further. So I come here, and now I'm going to drag my map again. And you notice that I said it was one of the highways was 27. So, and I happen to know this particular one is around. So here's 27. So let's keep zooming in. Okay. I'm hoping I can find this without it being too difficult here. But here we have 27, Highway 27, North Carolina 27, and I'm just going to follow it. And if you remember on the map, it was off of 27. I can't really show that. So it's off of North Carolina 27 on Mount Olive Church Road. So 27, I may want to go in a little closer. Yeah, off of 27. So I can find, then I'm going to look for Mount Olive Church Road. Which I hope I can find that. Let's see here. Let me go in a little closer. See if we can. I see Barbecue Church Road. Oh, I was already all the way over to 87, which is not quite what I wanted. Still off of 27. Let's see if I can find another. There's Leaflet Church Road, Spring Hill Church Road. I think I must be getting closer because I see Mount Olive Church. On this Strawberry, Sugar Hill. This is obviously a let me see, what did I get here? Bean, Strawberry, Lorraine Lane. Okay, Mount Olive. There we go. Mount Olive, Church Road. Okay, let's go in a little bit closer. Start revealing some of these. Mount Olive. Lorraine. Okay, here we go. Okay, you remember our property. Finally. Didn't seem like it took me this long in the when I was trying to set this up myself. Okay, so you see our property is shaped just like this here. And we have this little triangle right next to Mount Olive Church Road. So sometimes it does take a little searching, but here we have this property here, it's triangle, and here's our property right here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm let go of the control key, and I can left click, and it's going to put a arrow there, it's going to put a pin locator there on my property. And then I want to save that pin location, just like that. So now when I go in here and I edit the record, that particular, there it is. The property address is right here. And I happen to know that that city that we were in was Lillington, North Carolina. And here's the zip code. It fills in that zip code along with this latitude and longitude location. And once that's filled in, I can update, make sure my record's updated. And if I were to come back out of here, and if I go back into this record, or I just want to say view that property on map, as long as I have a property pin location there, it comes up. I choose the right record because that doesn't look like the one. Let's see. View on map. There it is. Okay. So where we put our pin, and it's just that easy for you to actually have a record. And trust me, when sellers call and they say, oh, which property I'm talking about here, you can find their record, but you want to have a quick search to be able to go in and look at what their property looks like. You want to know the shape of it, and you want to know how big it is. You want to see it on a map again. So of course you can come in here and you can do the satellite version, and then you can also do the version so that you can see, if it needs to be cleared, the land needs to be cleared. This is the satellite version. You can go back to the map version and actually see where the property is listed. So now that's one way to actually find the zip code on a map. Now there are, like I say, there's another way to actually find the zip code, and I don't know if they want to call it, the old school way, or however you want to say it. The way we did it before, Alex came out with this, neat tool where you can actually go in and zero in on certain map areas. I would go myself into Google Maps, and this is just another way to do it, pretty quick. And under this this search here, if all I had was a street name, which, I have Mount Olive Church Road, Strawberry Lane, that's what I would put in here. Mount Olive Church Road, and I might say North Carolina. If too many of them came up, now this is the one that came up in Lillington, but if too many of these came up, I might say and Strawberry Lane, because remember, I have Strawberry Lane, or you can say Mount Olive Church Road and Herbert Lane, either one. But this one here in Lillington comes up, and it kind of puts me on that road. And then again, see, I come down here and I'd find Strawberry Lane, and there's Herbert Lane. It's just another way to actually find your property, and you can put in the name. And remember, it's off of the 27 highway. Just another way, if I wanted to zoom in a little bit closer, and here I found our property right here. Now, what I would do at this point is I'm going to left click on my mouse, and it's going to say what's here. And as long as I had my mouse somewhere in the property, it's going to say what's here. I'm going to then enter or left click again. So, and I want to clear something up. So I was here on the property, and if I'm right clicking and I come down to what's here and then left click, right? It's going to give me always give you a listing, and it's this one actually showing an address, 543, but it always gives you the city, and it'll give you then the zip right here, along with your latitude and longitude. And so this I would just highlight, and I do a Control C and copy that. If I hadn't gone in through Alex's tool to actually find this on the map, this is just another way to search on Google Maps so that you can then find your city and your zip code and your longitude or latitude right here. And just to give you a tip, the closer you go to a street, if you put your cursor there and you say what's here, it usually gives you a city. Sometimes when you're on a large parcel and you're like out in the middle of the parcel and you do what's here, it may give you something that's kind of nebulous. If I were looking at this larger piece of property over here, and I right click and say what's here, it doesn't really give me the city. It gives me, kind of a general description. But the closer I get to a road and I do a left click what's here, you see it fills in more. There's your city, your state, your zip. So that's just a tip for you if you want to find out, what area your property is in. Make it closer to a road and you'll receive a little bit more information. So I'm hoping that helps clear up two different ways to locate a zip or area of a property that you don't have an address for. And remember, a lot of our properties, we don't have addresses for them. We just have pictures and a couple of street names. So a couple of different ways for you to search. I'm hoping that will be helpful for you. So if you have any questions around that, go ahead and shoot them to me and we will get them answered here. If you're going to, we're going to move on here and look at one of our business questions that came in was distinguishing, what's the difference between an offer package and an option package to purchase property. Again, we have gone through this a couple of times, but some of our newer students are right at that place. So if you have any questions around your offer package versus your option package, we'll handle them here. Let's see, so it's not really an Investment Dominator question, but we're gonna go on and deal with it. Basically, what I would refer you to so you can have plenty of information is to go into your land profit generator, and those of you that have access to that should have no problem going into there. We'll just bring it up real quick. And this is just so that you can get some more in-depth knowledge about if you want to speak about an offer package versus an option package. And I'll give you a high-level definition here as soon as we show you this part. Okay, in your land profit generator system, which I was explaining to you, basically the Investment Dominator is based on the LPG2 system. So I would log in, go to my land profit generator 2, and basically for this particular, I think it's module 10, if I remember right, but module number 10, contract or option, there it is. So, you can, obviously you can get, all the information you want to get on it, but I want to make sure I put it in this particular system, how you would get, know the difference between a contract or an option. In your land profit generator, you can log in and you can hear all of that from Jack himself. But basically, a contract is a written agreement, obviously, a written commitment to purchase property from a seller, and it's for a certain amount of money before a certain date. So when I have a contract, like we write up a contract, someone says, hey, I want to sell you my land. I want to accept that. I'm going to write up a commitment to purchase that property from them. I'm going to give them a net to seller amount. You've seen that in a lot of your offer letters that go out. Net to seller. This is going to be how much I'm going to buy that property for. And now this is a high level promise to actually purchase that property. And obviously our sellers are going to hold us to that. So whatever that amount is, that's exactly what they're going to want to get at closing, every single penny of it. And the seller expects us to buy that property based on, the clauses of that contract. Now we know as, buyers of that property that we're able to back out of the deal for just about any reason. Once we do our analysis on that property and we find out whether or not we can even sell that property, but it's still a contract. Now the difference between that and an option is an option is an instrument that's going to give us, since we're the optionee, it gives us the right to purchase that property at some point in the future, but we're not obligated to buy that property. We're not under contract to buy that property. This option gives us the right, basically, we can tie up that property for some period of time. And a lot of times this option type, I don't want to say contract, but this option agreement is basically, so if you have a high dollar piece of property that is going to cost you a lot of money, you first want to go out and find a buyer so that you don't have to put up, pay all of that out of your pocket, or you can use transactional funding and hold the property, have the property purchased for a day. You use somebody else's money, and then at closing, you'll get the profit, but someone else will put up the high dollar money. So the option just says, hey, at some point in the future, I plan to buy this property, but I'm not obligated to buy this property. And I'm going to buy it, within a specified period of time. And if that option expires, if we get to that date and we haven't purchased that property, that option simply expires and we have no commitment to that seller any longer. So that's the difference between a contract and an option. A contract, you're obligated to purchase the property for a specific price at closing. With an option, you have the right to purchase that property, but if the person that is selling the property got a better offer, since you didn't make a real contract with them, you didn't sign a real contract, they could sell the property to somebody else. So it's we don't use, in my particular business, with our company, we don't use the options. We just go on and put a contract out there and let them know, hey, I'm willing to purchase this property for X amount of dollars. That's it. And that keeps it real simple. So I'm hoping that will clear up some of that confusion, if any, of the difference between an option and a contract. All right, very good. So today, haven't seen any new questions coming in. If you have any questions, even on another unrelated subject, go ahead and type them in, and we'll get them answered. Otherwise, we'll keep moving on forward here with questions that we've received from our ticketing system. and finish up here. We might even be finishing up a little early. But the other question that we did receive that came in from Lawrence, I believe, is how do we use the set offer and option amounts? Okay. Oh, okay, Joe. Joe just had a real quick question there. The benefits of using options. And that's a good question, Joe. Let me just jot it down here. Benefits of using options. And in this particular business, the only benefit I could see from our standpoint is you don't have a real obligation. You're not really tied to purchasing property, even at a specified time, and you definitely are not obligated to go through with your deal, depending on what your analysis brings you back. You're letting someone know, hey, I'm interested in purchasing this property. I'll purchase this property, but basically, I'm not obligated in any way to purchase this property. We've had deals where we have a contract with someone, and we've said, well, I'm going to contract with you to pay X amount of dollars for this particular property. When we find out either the land won't perk, or we find out that a portion of it is in a flood zone, not the whole property, but maybe a portion of the property is in a flood area. And but we've already given and signed a contract with the seller stating that we're going to pay X amount of dollars for this property. At one time, we might have thought that the property had road access, and then we find out the property is landlocked. Well, if you're under contract, you have to pay X amount of dollars for that particular property. If we were under an option, we could go back then to the seller and say, hey, we've done some more research here, and this property is not worth to us what we thought it was worth. So option just allows you to have a little flexibility in whether or not you go through with the deal. And that's, from a business standpoint, that's the only real benefit that I've seen within options. But again, you can, listen to module 10. Jack may point out some other, benefits to options. And let's see, before I go on to the other question about setting offer option amounts, we have Brian says, on the second offer, is there a letter in the Investment Dominator, or do you use the same letter with a different price? Good question, Brian. And in my opinion, we use the same letter on the second offer. We use the same letter, same verbiage. The only thing we put in there is a different price. Let's see, on an offer, and this came from Brian. The only thing we've changed is the offer price. And I'm gonna tell you, what the sellers are concerned about is just the amount of the do-re-mi that's going to go in their pocket. They're not too worried about the verbiage. And so on the second offer, we use the same document. And I can't tell you, I think I'm thinking of at least 3 different times where we have sent a different offer. We actually got the second offer accepted. So it pays to send out those second offers. Okay, great question. All right, and then Gene, that is correct. It's more of a statement that Gene's made, but that is a true statement. The statement is that on the normal contract, it says that we have the right to cancel our contract for any reason, and that's exactly the same one I'm using, Gene. Um, and we do have the right to cancel that contract for any reason. And a lot of times, and we found after working certain areas, can we cancel easily? Yes. Even after we've had a signed contract, if we find out something in our research, and once we actually talk to the sellers on the phone, and this is how we do it, we talk to them on the phone. Now, I understand some students out there have coaches where your coach says they don't have to even talk to sellers. That's fine. That's however your business works. If it works for you, that's fine. We talk to our sellers, and so when we have talked to them and we have let them know, hey, we want to purchase this parcel, and we want to pay X amount of dollars for it. But we haven't done a lot of extensive research on this parcel. And Mr. Seller, if we want you to know that depending on what we find after our company does a little more a deeper dive into your parcel, this may or may not be of value to us, and we just want you to know that up front. And a lot of folks appreciate the honesty that you give them, and they'll come back and say, okay, fine. If you find anything, let us know, because a lot of them want to be able to sell their property. If not to us, they want to be able to sell it to somebody else. So they appreciate us giving them insight and information about their property that we find out, and they will again do business with you. And as long as they find out that you're a straight shooter and you're not trying to get over on them, they'll be pretty flexible with you and do business with you. So I think would not be obligated to close. Okay, Joe has a question regarding the close of escrow, and let's see, would not be obligated to close. So you said, Joe, you said, thought escrow would not close if there are any problems like that surface, meaning I would not be obligated to close. You're correct. You'd not be obligated to close on escrow if you found issues with the land. And so, as I just stated, if you find issues with the property, you can feel free to contact the seller again. Good. You can contact the seller again and just say, hey, we found these issues and we're going to we want to change our offer, or we're basically not going to be able to use this property. So people are very, very lenient, and especially these folks that, remember, we're dealing with a certain mentality here where these folks just want to get rid of this property, and they're not going to be too argumentative with you about whatever you find. Now, of course, if you're dealing with a savvy, seller, someone that knows land, chances are they may not be doing business with us anyway, because our offers are what they consider lowball, insulting offers. If you haven't gotten that a few times, your offers are probably too high. We get it, every now and then, someone actually takes the time to send our offer letter back with a big red mark on it, or asking us if we're on drugs, or asking us, how dare we be and so insulting. They'll call us up and left a couple messages, but that's just part of doing the business, and that's just not the mentality of person that we're looking for. So you just keep moving right on. So let's see, Brian has a question here. When you cancel a contract, I'm assuming that you mail them a letter to make it official, right? No, not necessarily, Brian. You can do that, and there's nothing wrong with mailing them a letter. But when we cancel a contract, what we'll do is we will actually call the seller on the phone and let them know, hey, this is what we found in our analysis, and we're basically not going to be able to go through with this property, with this purchase of this property. And then we point to the place where it says we can back out of this contract, for any reasons we deem necessary. So we don't necessarily mail another letter, stating that we canceled the contract. Now, like I say, that's a professional thing to do. I think it's a great thing to do. I think it's a courteous, very courteous and considerate thing to do. So they have a hard copy of you saying you've canceled the contract. We basically haven't implemented that, but you're more than welcome. It is your business, and you may want to handle it like that. We're fortunate that we can do some initial analysis. I actually am the person in our company that does most of the analysis on the land, and I've worked in the areas that we work in long enough to know, a good piece of property when I see it, and especially when I get some of the description from the county, so I can pretty much know, hey, this is probably going to be a pretty good deal. Now, of course, I can't see all areas. I don't know if there's going to be anything wrong with the title. Uh, those are the kinds of things that pop up. I don't know if there's any liens on the property until we've done our deeper analysis. I don't know if the person if they really are the ones that own the property, even though their name may be on there. I don't know if there's additional owners that are not willing to sell the property. That has popped up. So again, you learn all of this when you do a deeper dive in your analysis process. And if um, you're working with a good title company, or however you're going to close, a good attorney, they're going to also do a a good in-depth search of that property to find out if there's any encumbrances or anything that prevents you from going through with the deal. So here we are. Thank you, people. Great questions. I always appreciate you all bringing in and writing in your questions. Remember, you can always send them in through the ticketing system, and they will get to me. Hopefully, real soon, I'll be able to have access directly to that ticketing system so that I can get the questions firsthand and have them prepared for our calls here. So before we let you go this evening, and you have a chance to go get some dinner or enjoy the rest of the evening with your family, just want to leave you with this thought from Herman Melville. And his thought is, it's better to fail in originality than to succeed in imitation. I like that. It's better to fail in originality than to succeed in imitation. And want you to have a great remainder of the evening. You're very welcome. I am always glad to be on with you guys. I appreciate your courage, and I appreciate you moving forward in your businesses. It's encouraging to me, and just want you to be successful out there, and write in, let us know whatever we can do to assist you. We'll be happy to do that. And I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of you on the 22nd of August, I believe is the date for the 2-day workshop. And we'll get to meet face to face. So, man, even in Spanish, gracias, gracias. You're more than welcome. Have a great evening, everybody. Take care now. Bye-bye.